Okay, everyone, thank you for coming out. We're going to get this rally started. We're really happy that you came out on such a great day, even though it's a bit windy. The reasons why we're out here is because today are another round of elections in Venezuela. Venezuela gets a lot of bad coverage of the fact that it doesn't supposedly have a democracy, doesn't have votes, but we know again year after year, Venezuela has been under many elections and the people still continue to support the Bolivarian project. So we're here, again, ourselves, various groups, out here supporting, making sure people are aware of what's happening in Venezuela. Comunidad, la misión, estamos comenzando hoy el mitin aquí informando sobre lo que está pasando en el país hermano de Venezuela. Desafortunadamente este país siempre está mal informando los desarrollos de el país venezolano. Hoy es el día de elecciones donde se espera que se reelija el presidente Maduro y es importante tratar este tema de Venezuela, especialmente en nuestra comunidad, porque aunque Venezuela ha pasado por elección tras elección y el pueblo sigue apoyando el proyecto bolivariano, no se presentan los resultados de manera clara. Y cuando uno se compara las elecciones de este país, las elecciones donde menos del 50% votó por el trompas porque no participaron y menos apoyaron a Hillary Clinton, no puede este país declarar que sabe sobre democracia o sabe sobre elecciones. So we're going to be doing some chants right now. We go, hey, hey, ho, ho, U.S. sanctions have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho,
U.S. sanctions have got to go.
hey, hey, ho, ho,
U.S. sanctions have got to go.
hey, hey, ho, ho,
U.S. sanctions have got to go.
hey, hey, ho, ho.
U.S. sanctions have got to go.
Hey, Chávez vive, la lucha sigue. Chávez vive,
La lucha sigue.
Chávez vive,
La lucha sigue.
Chávez vive,
La lucha sigue.
Chávez vive,
La lucha sigue.
Chávez vive.
La lucha sigue.
A ver si puedo agarrar esa. Maduro, Maduro, al Yankee dale duro. Ok, vamos a ver si puedo agarrar esa. So Maduro, Maduro, it says to the Yankee, hit him hard. So ready? We'll figure out. Maduro, Maduro, al Yankee dale duro. Maduro, Maduro,
A Yankee dale duro.
Maduro, Maduro,
A Yankee dale duro.
Maduro, Maduro,
A Yankee dale duro.
Maduro, Maduro, al Yankee dale duro. Maduro, Maduro,
A Yankee dale duro.
Maduro, Maduro.
A Yankee dale duro.
All right, sister, brothers, family, thank you so much for coming out. We're going to have several speakers today talking about what's going on in Venezuela. It's so important for us as a community to come out and inform ourselves about what's happening around the world. Too often our own media, which claims to be free and democratic, a supposed free and democratic society, we know that we don't get all the information. We don't get the truth about what's happening, not only in Venezuela, but in Nicaragua, in Mexico, just like we see across the street with the various groups supporting elections over there. We want to make sure that we inform ourselves, we talk to ourselves, take flyers as you're walking around, send pictures that in the U.S. There are in fact people who are aware of what's happening in Venezuela and support it. So comunidad, de nuevo, bienvenidos al mitin. Infórmense por favor sobre la situación en Venezuela, qué está pasando, porque es necesario que sepamos que en este país, que según habla de democracia o libertad de expresión, sabemos que no se habla sobre las cosas verdaderas que están ocurriendo en el país, no solo en Venezuela, pero hay que decir en Nicaragua o la situación en México también. Hay que informarnos sobre la realidad de los países.
Hello, my name is Patricia and I'm with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And we're out here today to stand in solidarity with Venezuela, with the Bolivarian Revolution, and with the Venezuelan elections that are going on right now, which Jimmy Carter, the Jimmy Carter Foundation even found to be the freest and fairest elections in the world. And we're out here today to talk about the fact that the United States has been attacking Venezuela ever since Chavez came into office. And in fact, in 2002, the United States instituted a coup against Chavez. And really tried to get Chavez out and tried to overthrow the government and put in people who are more amenable to big capital, who are more amenable to U.S. foreign corporate domination of Latin America. And yet, the people of Venezuela resisted and fought back against the coup and brought Chavez back. And Maduro is continuing the legacy of Chavez, of building homes for people, of raising wages for people. And the opposition, the right-wing opposition against Maduro that's backed by the United States has burned the schools that have been built by the Bolivarian government, has burned the art centers for children that were created, and it shows pretty clearly that the right-wing opposition, their whole goal is to turn back and roll back all of the social gains that have been won by the Bolivarian Revolution. And so we are out here to stand with Venezuela, to say, U.S. hands off Venezuela, U.S. hands off the Bolivarian Revolution, Yankees out of Latin America. Thank you. Maduro, dale duro. Maduro, a Yankee dale duro. Maduro.
Yankee dale duro.
Maduro.
Yankee dale duro. Gracias, Patricia. Our next speaker is Alex Loza with the Marcha Patriótica of Colombia. So please welcome Alex.
Hi. Even though we don't hear much in the news about Latin America now, we hear about other parts of the world more than Latin America. What's happening there is very significant. It's happening all over Latin America: Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, Ecuador. There are many, many problems, and they're all promoted by the United States and the United States' interest in Latin America. Venezuela has been a country that has been a leader in the movement for socialism and the movement against U.S. imperialism throughout Latin America. That's why Venezuela has become a super enemy to the United States and to the corporations of the United States, because they dare to speak out and they dare to stand up to the United States and to the U.S. policies and U.S. economics in Latin America. And they've done it not just for themselves, they've done it for everybody. They've done it for Colombia, they've done it for Ecuador, they've done it for Brazil. They speak out for everyone in Latin America. And they've created many organizations and many movements within Latin America to support the people of Latin America against U.S. corporate interests. Venezuela has the cleanest elections in the world. There's probably not another country that has cleaner elections. So today we have to watch those elections. And Maduro is very popular. And so is Chavismo, and so is the Bolivarian movement. And the people of Venezuela, many people will vote for that process. They don't want to give it up. They're not ready to give up what they've won. They're not ready to give up their schools. They're not ready to give up their health care. They're not ready to give up their housing. And they've made many, many, many gains through the Bolivarian movement in Venezuela. And people understand very clearly that if they give that up, if they vote for the right wing, it's all gone. Now, one of the things in Colombia, we support the Bolivarian movement, and we are part of the Bolivarian movement. We've been participating in the Bolivarian movement for many years. We're having many, many problems with the peace process. The peace process was signed, and the government is not fulfilling the points of the peace process. The paramilitaries are still killing many of the leaders in the communities. Jesus Santriz, who's a leader of the new party, the FARC in Colombia, the Peace Party, they're trying to extradite him to the United States, saying that he's a drug dealer, which could not be any further from the truth. He's a very important theoretical and political and a very, very, very important person to the revolution in Colombia. Many people in Colombia are talking about what's going to be happening, that the United States will try, if the right wing wins in Colombia. There are elections in Colombia next weekend on the 27th. If the right wing wins those elections, the plan is to invade Venezuela and go into Venezuela. The United States will do that through the Colombian right wing, which they've been planning for many, many, many years. It's nothing new. So if the left-wing progressive Gustavo Petro wins the elections, that won't happen in Colombia. If the right wing wins the elections in Colombia, that's what's going to happen. And the U.S. has been planning with Colombia to do all kinds of programs, all kinds of aggressions toward popular Latin American movements. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to say U.S. CIA out of Venezuela. 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 Comunidad, nomás para decir por qué estamos aquí, es tan importante mostrar la solidaridad con Venezuela. Un proyecto que se llama el Proyecto Bolivariano. Es un proyecto de crear independencia y autonomía para los países latinoamericanos. Y es tan importante que nosotros veamos una alternativa, porque como vemos en este país, siempre hablan que este país es algo perfecto, ¿verdad? Y vemos en las noticias que la gente en verdad no es tan perfecto, hay tanta inequidad. En San Francisco, por ejemplo, es el tercero en el mundo con la mayor cantidad de billonarios. Entonces, tercero en el mundo, ahora San Francisco se encuentra con más billonarios que el resto del mundo. Si pensamos esa extrema riqueza, lo comparamos con la extrema pobreza y las necesidades del pueblo que no tiene viviendas, que no tiene trabajos, hay que pensar de esa inequidad. Entonces, ¿por qué se le está atacando tanto a Venezuela? Es porque está dando una alternativa, que en vez de darle dinero a la mayoría, a los ricos, se le está dando a la gente humilde, a la gente trabajadora. Nosotros como pueblo trabajador no podemos ser manipulados con ese mensaje de que el rico merece todo. Nosotros tenemos que pensar que viene de nuestro trabajo y que nosotros merecemos desde abajo mejorar nuestra situación. Vamos a tener gente presentando, por favor, escúchenos, agarren volantes, infórmense, porque las noticias de nuevo, las noticias nunca hablan de la realidad nuestra. Entonces, ¿cómo es posible que van a hablar de la realidad de otro mundo? So brothers and sisters, just introducing our next speaker. We have a number of speakers coming out. Please take some photos. Please take a flyer. It's important that people in Venezuela know that there are good people, honest people, fighting hard and want to tell the truth. Our next speaker is one of those people. His name is John Parker. He's actually running for U.S. Senate here under the Peace and Freedom Party. He's also with the Workers' World Party. So we want to welcome John Parker.
Thanks for the organizers for organizing this important solidarity with Venezuela. You know, while this system is going through a crisis, there's a worldwide capitalist crisis of overproduction, economic crisis right now, which means the prospects of other countries moving towards socialism is even a greater threat to a system that can now deliver only poverty and war. But we know that it's socialism that was responsible, the determining factor in the defeat of the Nazis. It's the socialist countries that were the determining factor in the liberation of about a third of Africa during the early 60s. And it's the socialist countries today that are the main fighters against global warming. So if the Venezuelan people decide that they want to move towards socialism like Chavez said that they were doing, and most of the supporters in Venezuela say that they were doing, then they have a right to do so. And we should stand in solidarity with them. If they don't want the IMF loans and the poverty and the war and the racism, then they have a right to say that. And we have to stand with them for that. And right now Evo Morales has let us know that he had intelligence, the president of Bolivia, they had intelligence about the fact that the U.S. is trying to get Colombia to come in and militarily go against as they continue their sabotage in Venezuela, the U.S. imperialists. So we have to say no to more war. These wars do nothing for us. I want to talk to everybody that's walking around here. Is anybody out here who's walking around, do you have an extra $100,000 in your pocket? Because you know what, by 2053, Forbes magazine in 2017 estimated that it's going to cost you $100,000 each just for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. $100,000 each. And what do these wars do for us? They do nothing. They cost too much. And when they get done with their weapons, they send their weapons to black and brown communities. So you see the cops running around with these AR-15 missiles, rifles, so that they can shoot down more efficiently black and brown youth. And these wars cause the refugee crisis that we have right now. A refugee crisis where we see ICE coming into our communities, tearing mothers from their children's arms. These wars are not for us. They're for the ruling class. And we have to fight against them and stay in solidarity with the people of Venezuela. I want to thank again everyone for being here. We will succeed, and the Venezuelan people will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that important message. And of course, every war, every act of aggression that the United States participates in across the world affects us right here. The wars abroad are directly connected to the wars right here. And in fact, it's also worth calling to mind the massacre of Palestinians by Israel that's been cheered on by the United States with the opening of the U.S. Embassy. And these same media outlets that are spewing lies, discussing lies about Palestinians and blaming them for Israel massacring them. These same institutes are lying about Venezuela as well, lying that there's no food, when really it's these corporate billionaires that own these companies that are hoarding food instead of giving it to the people. And so that's why we say CNN, ABC, New York Times, the people of the world say no more lies. CNN, ABC, New York Times, the people of the world say no more lies. CNN, ABC, New York Times, no more lies. CNN, ABC, New York Times, the people of the world say no more lies. All right, next I'd like to introduce Silvio Rodriguez. Silvio is a Brazilian activist and one of the leading members of the Cuba and Venezuela Solidarity Committee. Please welcome Silvio.
Sisters and brothers, thank you. I am honored to be here with you today, standing in solidarity with the people of Venezuela, with the Bolivarian Revolution, standing against U.S. aggression, against Washington's interference in the democratic process in Venezuela. I want to say a few words about some of the countries that have been providing a fig leaf of legitimacy for Washington's interference in Venezuela. I'm talking about some of the members of the Organization of American States. I'm talking about the group of Lima, a group of 12 countries that signed a document whose sole point of unity is opposition to the Bolivarian Revolution, whose sole point of unity is backing Washington's interference in Venezuela. And this group includes the likes of Canada, who claims to stand for democracy, and yet they're barring the Venezuelan consulates in Canada from holding polling stations, from letting the people of Venezuela who live abroad exercise their right to vote. I'm talking about the likes of Argentina, where the right-wing Macri government has put the interests of U.S. corporations before the interests of the people of Argentina. Macri, who's a darling of Wall Street, who's now leading the country of Argentina back into the hands of the IMF, this reviled institution in all of Latin America that serves the interests of foreign capital. I'm talking about the government of Brazil, my home country, where the president helped lead a political coup against the democratically elected government of Dilma Rousseff in 2016. Temer, the president of Brazil, polls at around 4 to 5% in terms of public support. His government has rolled back all the gains that the Brazilian people made during the years of the Workers' Party government. The second largest state in Brazil, my home state, is now under military occupation. Lula, the most popular president in the history of Brazil ever, is now imprisoned because he was likely to win the upcoming elections in October. These are some of the leaders who are preaching to Venezuela about democracy, who claim to uphold democratic values and are now interfering in the democratic process in Venezuela. Sisters and brothers, regardless of what these governments say and do, the people of Brazil, the people of Venezuela, the people of Bolivia, the people of Chile, they all remember the role that the United States played in supporting military dictatorships in Latin America. They all are familiar with the economic warfare carried out by Washington and its allies in our home countries. We stand with the people of Venezuela. We stand with all of those who are fighting to protect the right to choose their own future. And we denounce Washington's intervention in Venezuela, in Latin America, and everywhere in the world. Long live the Bolivarian Revolution. Thank you.
Okay, Chávez vive, la lucha
Sigue.
Chávez vive,
La lucha sigue.
Chávez vive,
La lucha sigue.
Chávez vive,
La lucha sigue.
Chávez vive.
La lucha sigue.
Ok, vamos a hacer, creo que es Maduro, al Yankee dale duro. Ok, vamos a hacer, Maduro, al Yankee dale duro. Maduro.
Al Yankee dale duro.
Maduro.
Al Yankee dale duro.
Maduro.
Al Yankee dale duro.
Maduro.
Al Yankee dale duro.
Maduro.
Al Yankee dale duro.
Compañeros, si están aquí en la comunidad, a favor de venir y escuchar a los oradores sobre la situación en Venezuela. Compañeros, compañeras, es importante saber la verdad de que están ocurriendo en estos países que otorgan una alternativa. Por ejemplo, tomen a Cuba, un país socialista que ha podido otorgar a la gran mayoría, a casi todos, 99% de su población, viviendas, educación, profesionalismo, esa oportunidad de vivir dignamente en su país. ¿Por qué creen que ahora ya no escuchan tanto sobre Cuba? Porque recientemente tuvieron una elección, eligieron a un nuevo presidente. Y el hecho de que han escogido a un nuevo presidente y mantienen el mismo sistema económico, el mismo sistema social, eso lo echa en cara a toda esa propaganda de Estados Unidos que iba a decir, después de que los Castro se fueran iba a caer Cuba. La realidad es que en Cuba lo que ha ocurrido es un cambio a nivel de base social. Cuando tienes vivienda, cuando tienes comida, cuando tienes un futuro para tus niños, tú vas a proteger eso sin importar qué líder hay. Esa es la realidad de la transformación que ocurre en Cuba y igual quiere ocurrir en Venezuela. No hay que escuchar las mentiras de este país. Imagínense aquí, uno está tratando de darle necesidades básicas a nuestros niños porque la escuela no tiene dinero, porque siempre están ocurriendo guerras, porque para el rico siempre hay recursos. Entonces no hablan las fallas de este sistema económico, no hablan de las fallas de este país y prefieren darle maldición a los otros países porque saben que si hubiera una alternativa y uno dijera, bueno, Cuba está bien, Cuba la gente está educada, Cuba la gente no está muriendo de hambre. Si quieren ver la gente muriendo de hambre, vayan aquí a la Shotwell, vayan aquí debajo del puente, la gente muriéndose del consumo de drogas. Y eso no es justo, no es justo que viva la gente así cuando hay tanta riqueza en esta ciudad. Entonces no se dejen llevar, compañeros, vengan acá y escuchen a los diferentes oradores. Our next speaker, sorry, just got to go, this is our community in Spanish, we have to make sure that we win over our people as well. So what we're trying to do is again speak out in support of Venezuela and speak out against the lies of Venezuela. And also one major country that's giving us a lot of hope is Cuba and what it's done for its people. And I was just mentioning that the U.S. is no longer talking about Cuba and it's like, dictatorship, because they recently had an election. They had an election where the Castros weren't involved, so all these demonization that they've done over years, they had a new president, the system maintains the same. They can't talk about that because then you have to talk about the actual system that's there and how it benefits people. Our next speaker is Richard Becker with the Answer Coalition. Please give a warm welcome to Richard.
Thank you.
And you know, I heard on CNN that Nicolas Maduro is a dictator. I also heard on CNN that Mohammed bin Salman is a really dynamic young leader of Saudi Arabia, and that he's going to really change things in Saudi Arabia. You know, I looked up recently the National Endowment for Democracy's programs. The National Endowment for Democracy is another name for Central Intelligence Agency. They have 17 admitted programs in Venezuela to promote democracy. They have 2 programs in Saudi Arabia, and they're to help Saudi Arabia coordinate with its neighboring monarchies. The U.S. Leaders, the National Endowment for Democracy and Washington, they're very concerned about possible election irregularities in Venezuela in this election. They are not concerned about election irregularities in Saudi Arabia because there are no elections. There's never been an election. And as far as Mohammed bin Salman and the royal family, and now 15,000 princes who rule the country, they want to keep it that way. So why does the U.S. government focus on Venezuela's so-called lack of democracy, but never says a word about this? Why is there no dictator attached to the name Mohammed bin Salman? Well, when Mohammed bin Salman was at the White House meeting with Trump, to his great embarrassment, which is fine, Trump said, they are a great country and they're sharing their great wealth with us. You might find that slightly embarrassing if you were the leader of a country to have. And of course, that gets to the very heart of it. Saudi Arabia is a family dynasty established in 1932 by the British and the United States. And it has greatly shared its oil wealth with the U.S. oil companies. Back then, the embassy of the United States and the Aramco oil company were in the same building, conveniently. They've shared that wealth amounting now to hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars. And the banks in the U.S. and in England have benefited, but the oil wealth has gone to the imperialists and to the royal family. I mean, it's kind of funny that the royal family there claims to be proponents of Wahhabism, which is what ISIS is, what they're attached to. But they're the five-star Wahhabists. They're the ones who stay most of the year outside Saudi Arabia, living off the wealth of the country that should be benefiting the people of the Arab world, but instead benefits the imperialist corporations and banks. I say this because we should know the vocabulary of imperialism. The vocabulary of imperialism means that certain words are attached to certain leaders, and those words are definitely omitted from others. And it's those who cooperate with the United States that don't get those words used against them. And it's precisely because Venezuela, since the Bolivarian Revolution has begun, with all the problems it has confronted, has tried to use, to the best of its ability, its wealth for the benefit not of New York and Wall Street, but of the people of Venezuela. That's the greatest crime in the eyes of imperialism.
Thank you so much, Richard. And especially when we look in our communities today, when we look and see at where the resources are going, public school after public school gets shut down, gets privatized. Public transit gets defunded. All of our public services are not prioritized, are just a concession that we win from these Wall Street bankers and CEOs that are running our country and that are going around and destroying the world. So, but in Venezuela, that is not the case, and in fact, people are fighting back. Alerta, alerta, alerta que camina. camina, la espada de Bolívar por América Latina. Alerta, alerta que camina, la espada de Bolívar por América Latina. And this means alert, alert, beyond alert, because the sword of Bolivar is walking through Latin America right now, is active again. And just as when Simón Bolivar was alive and was fighting for justice, there are still people carrying that sword and carrying that banner today. All right, one more time. Alerta, alerta, alerta que camina, la espada de Bolívar por América Latina. Next, I'd like to introduce Laura Wells. Laura Wells is of the Green Party, and she's a write-in candidate for Congress in the state of California. Laura has been to Venezuela many times. Please welcome Laura.
One of the reasons that they want to shut down Venezuela and make people believe all the lies about it is that Venezuela has represented esperanza, hope, from the moment in 1998 and when he became president in 1999. What happened was that Chavez came into an electoral system with a two-party system that had been fixed for 40 years. And when he came in, those two parties ended up running the same candidate to try to beat him, but he beat them. And then 5 years ago, when Nicolas Maduro became president, the forces against him, the resources that were piled against him, and the undoing of everything that was possible in the systems in Venezuela did not beat him. So that is another example of esperanza. 5 years later, he is still president, and it looks like tomorrow he is still going to be president. They do not want us to think that we have that kind of hope. It's like the old Margaret Thatcher, Tina, there is no alternative. Well, there is an alternative. Would you please raise your hand if you live in Alameda County? Okay, because I would like to get to you one of these palm cards, because I'm running as a write-in candidate against a very popular congressperson who is running unopposed in June. The write-in candidate that gets the most votes will be on the November ballot. So do we want Barbara Lee to run against a Republican? She's already pressured toward the right. Or do we want Barbara Lee to run against a Green? So we've got to take whatever chance we have. And one of the things that we have hope about is that, for example, the Peace and Freedom Party and the Green Party are working together now more than they have in years and years. And so we're endorsing each other's candidates. We're growing that movement. And so that's what, and we're applying the pressure from this side. So Venezuela did it. They took a two-party system and beat it. We can take this two-party system and beat it. There is an alternative. Thank you, Venezuela, for showing the way.
Gracias, Laura. Thank you, Laura. So we still have a few more speakers left, but what we really hope is that you stick around with us for now, because we want to make sure we take a big picture at the end, invite people to come, because they really need to know in Venezuela that there are people in solidarity with them here in the heart of the empire. So make sure you stick around. So la siguiente oradora, nomás está diciendo que si gusten, al final vamos a tener unos cuantos oradores y luego vamos a tomar una foto, porque hay que mostrar que hay apoyo aquí, como se dice, dentro del estómago de la bestia, en el imperio, para mostrarle que hay apoyo hacia Venezuela. Pero la siguiente oradora es Norma. Our next speaker is Norma. She's with the Answer Coalition.
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo estamos? Tal vez se preguntan por qué estamos aquí hoy. ¿Qué es lo que está pasando? Tal vez ustedes han escuchado de las elecciones en Venezuela, han escuchado de la situación política y social en Venezuela y escuchan diariamente cada día, cada semana, durante meses, durante años, las mentiras en los medios de comunicación, en la televisión, las mentiras de Estados Unidos contra Venezuela, como lo ha hecho contra otros países durante largos años. Nosotros estamos muy claros por qué Estados Unidos le interesa que estas elecciones sean ganadas para la burguesía lumpen de Venezuela. Y no solamente son las elecciones. Sabemos bien que Estados Unidos durante años, décadas, ha estado controlando América Latina. Y no es que no le guste, no quiere que un país tenga su propio proyecto, su propia política. No le conviene que Venezuela, otros países, Nicaragua, Bolivia, que ellos se autodirijan. Nosotros en ANSER respetamos la soberanía de Venezuela, de su revolución, porque es su revolución y Estados Unidos no tiene ningún derecho de meter sus manos ni sus narices. Estados Unidos es una vergüenza para el mundo. El gobierno de Estados Unidos, no su gente, el gobierno de Estados Unidos, no solo Trump, desde antes, Obama, Bush y todos sus antecesores han sido unos criminales, unas bestias promoviendo genocidios, promoviendo golpes de Estado alrededor del mundo y en América Latina. Por eso hoy Venezuela les conviene tenerla controlada y en su yugo. Y queremos que Venezuela escuche que no está sola, que vamos a apoyar hasta donde sea. También les queremos decir que nosotros en ANSER estamos conscientes de que esto es una lucha de larga duración. No se acaba aquí con las elecciones. Y también incidir que la campaña de Estados Unidos contra Venezuela es una hipocresía, porque preguntémonos por qué no dicen nada sobre Colombia, sobre Argentina, simplemente sobre México. Yo soy mexicana y conozco muy bien la situación de mi país. México es el país que ha crecido de una manera inmensa el nivel de pobreza, de violencia, no solamente a manos de los cárteles, pero es una violencia del Estado. En México el nivel de feminicidios, de gente desaparecido, no tiene comparación con otros países. Venezuela no tiene esa situación. Da risa, pero da coraje que Estados Unidos se quiera aparentar como un país humanista cuando es un país genocida, que promueve países como Israel para promover el genocidio en Palestina, promueve gobiernos tipo México para imponer una dictadura, para llenarnos de armas y matar a la gente civil que está en contra o que no está de acuerdo con el gobierno priista y panista de México. Y pronto en México tendremos elecciones y ya veremos qué es el rol de Estados Unidos. Y siempre el rol del gobierno de Estados Unidos es controlar a los títeres gobiernos del PRI y del PAN. Pero esta vez no nos vamos a dejar. Yo quiero decirle a Venezuela, 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 dale a Trump donde le duela.
Thank you so much, Norma. And again, for those of you who are walking by, we're in the area. We're out here to support Venezuela, who's having elections today, and we're out here to stand in solidarity with Venezuela, with the Venezuelan government. All right, next I'd like to introduce Gloria Lariva. Gloria is a longtime activist, and she is running for governor in the state of California on the Peace and Freedom Party ticket. Gloria is a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Please welcome Gloria.
Sisters and brothers, I first want to express, I'm sure for all of us, our deepest condolences to the people of Cuba who suffered such a tragic accident with the loss of over 100 people, with the passengers and the crew. And it is no doubt that that plane crashed because it is an old plane and because of the U.S. blockade that denies Cuba the right to economic trade, the right to trade with other countries and have an economy that's sovereign. And therefore the planes and the airplane industry of Cuba has suffered greatly. And it's even said in the New York Times that this is a fact. We denounce the United States for its interference, for its crimes, for its genocide against the people of the world, whether it's Palestine or Venezuela or Cuba. And we know that today there's a great struggle going on in Venezuela. It's an election today, but it's been a struggle for 20 years, ever since that great heroic leader, Hugo Chavez, won as president in 1998. And the very first act was to create a new constitution that said that the oil and the mineral wealth and the water of Venezuela belongs to the Venezuelan people. That was a crime for U.S. imperialism. And that constitution guarantees housing and education and free health care. And today, the only thing that you will see in the United States media is lies about Venezuela. The most outrageous lies and distortion. Even today, the New York Times says, oh, President Maduro, they call him a dictator, but they said President Maduro is buying votes by giving food to people. What's happening in Venezuela is a program called CLAP to distribute that food to every household possible, because the U.S. corporations and the Venezuelan corporations and the U.S. government are conspiring for years now to deny the Venezuelan people food. Yes, President Maduro has the people first, and the United Socialist Party of Venezuela and the coalition that's supporting Maduro today. We don't know what's going to happen. We believe that it's very likely that President Maduro will win today in Venezuela. But regardless of the outcome, we will always be with Venezuela and the people in struggle in the revolutionary process. Now, we're going to meet at our office afterwards. People are welcome to come over. We're going to watch the returns. We're going to watch some very educational video. I really want to welcome people to come and learn, so that being in the United States, we have the greatest responsibility and duty to know what's happening, what our government is doing with our tax dollars, so that we can defend the people of other countries, because it's defending ourselves. Others have mentioned how trillions are used for the military, for bombs, for war, for killing Palestinians, for killing millions in Iraq, for killing people in Syria. The people of Yemen are dying by the Saudi bombing, but it's the U.S. that backs them. And all that money, imagine what could happen with all that Pentagon money. We would have free education for everybody. We would have health care where you could walk to a doctor's office and never pay a penny. And you don't need insurance. And you could have, in your old age, you could have someone to help you without having to pay. and you wouldn't ever have to worry about being evicted. And you could have equal rights. And the women, we would have our rights. And LGBTQ people, and Black, Latino, Asian, Native, all people, everyone. But we're oppressed by the same government that wants to destroy the Bolivarian Revolution. Sisters and brothers who may be listening, today is an election. It's very critical. Sign up here at our table. Get information, because our government wants new war. The Trump administration and the Pentagon, they want war against North Korea. They want war against Iran. They want war against people who want to be independent. And we won't let that happen, will we? No. So, let's join together afterwards. Let's keep our unity here. We're a great coalition of people, activists of the Mission and the Bay Area. Let's keep that unity together, and let's fight on. Viva Maduro!
Viva Maduro!
Viva Venezuela!
Viva Venezuela!
Viva Cuba!
Viva Cuba!
Viva la solidaridad internacional!
Viva!
Thank you, Gloria. Gracias, Gloria. Our next speaker is Tony Gonzalez, longtime leader of the Native movement here, American Indian movement, and we are very happy that he could join us today.
All right. Thank you, Francisco. And greetings, my relatives. Good afternoon. And on behalf of American Indian Movement, we stand in solidarity with Venezuela. We stand in solidarity with the organizations that are here this afternoon who took the time to raise attention to what's going on today in Venezuela with the elections. I know a lot of us can be in many other places, but taking the time to come here is an act of commitment to the struggle international. The Socialist Movement International is under attack. If it's not Cuba, Venezuela, even Nicaragua is being looked at. There's a whole geopolitical analysis and review of the Western Hemisphere. As it has been said, we are aware that Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, which would cause all these corporate extractive industries to salivate with the very idea. It's just a matter of how to mobilize the military. So we stand with the anti-war movement, international as well as here. We have to be aware that the United States military, with the current administration, can do crazy things overnight. They could declare a blanket security over the entire hemisphere and begin to mobilize the military forces everywhere. And we have to stand up to that. I salute the indigenous people of Venezuela who have been with the revolution, who have made the distinction of the different ideologies around the world, and they are aware of the imperialist military structure of the United States and the challenge that Venezuela poses to them. So they're on the right side, as well as Hugo Chavez was among those that supported the 500 years of decolonization of the Western Hemisphere. And they have been decolonizing and helping decolonize peoples throughout the Americas. And we can't overlook the generous support that Venezuela has extended to Indian peoples here in North America and the United States proper, while many of our brothers and sisters up in the north, in the plains area, North and South Dakota, or even Alaska, Indian people who don't have the means to buy the energy to maintain their homes in a warm environment have had to rely on external support, and it doesn't come from the United States. It came from Venezuela. It came through their CITCO program. And the CITCO program has been very generous in providing this energy and heating resources to many of our peoples here in the Americas. And for that, we don't forget we are in the struggle. I want to extend support also, as Gloria Lariva mentioned, the sadness of a jet going down in Cuba and over 100 men, women. I believe there's 3 survivors that are still clinging on to their life. But yes, it can be an attribute of the embargo, of the lack of the resources and materials to provide adequate transportation for our peoples, such as in Cuba. I also want to make mention that American Indian movement, we support the Palestinian people's right to self-determination, and the struggle there will continue until Palestine is free, until all people are free. So during this period of the Nakba and the catastrophe, we acknowledge that there's been a catastrophe for 500 years as imperialism has marched forward in different ways, in different forums. And today, countries like the United States are pushing democracy as a way to get into many of these countries so they can also promote their capitalist ideology and system and put a chokehold on the people of this earth. So we are all in one struggle, all people of color, all labor struggle in the circle of life for the future of the coming generations. So I thank you for the time, and we move on with the struggle. Que viva Venezuela! Que viva Venezuela! Que viva Venezuela!
Gracias, Tony. Thank you so much. So, right before we take this photo, we have some speakers from a great group that show a lot of solidarity to Latin America, the Task Force on the Americas. So we're going to welcome Alice, I believe, is going to speak. But we want to welcome them so that they also show their solidarity.
Hi, this is really short just to end up. I came to this area 5 years ago from Colombia, and I found a group that was very, very special, which I joined. And I work with them, and they're called Task Force on the Americas. And one of the things that I found very special about them is that they support social movements, and they support self-determination. And they're a group, this is a group that I'm proud to be part of. They've done a lot of work with me with Colombia, and a lot of support of Colombia. They've supported Berta Cáceres and the movement in Honduras. They've supported the Haitians and their struggle for democratic independence of the United States. They've denounced the United States, and it's a group that's very clear about denouncing the United States and imperialist movements against Latin America and supporting the people of Latin America and their self-determination. So I think it's important that we all join something, do something, be part of something to resist what this country is doing all over the world, which is probably the worst scene history has ever seen. Thank you very much.
Gracias. So as we're setting ourselves up, I think we're going to get this picture going. So if you can come over here, find a little spot. We want to make sure